breaking down a few tips and whatnot and have some fun with this. So let's get this party started. Boy, I wish they never got rid of that theme, but they sadly did. Though they made a different rendition, but it sucks now. But anyway, this is Gray Fox 37.
And Pikachu 23.
And we're here to break down the 2019 NCAA Road to the Final Four Minneapolis edition for you there. And we're going to be making our live picks, and hopefully we'll have some good picks along the way there. Couple things before we begin. Sadly, my alma mater, Arizona, isn't in it this year because they were really, really down. But at least we have the satisfaction of knowing we beat the Big 12 champs, Iowa State. So at least there's a little rapport there.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame, unfortunately, didn't have a good year, but they were really young and injury-ridden. But the future's bright for Notre Dame for the most part. Arizona's kind of 50-50. It depends on if Miller stays and if the number one recruiting class holds at that point. Otherwise, I say go after Chris Beard from Texas Tech as soon as possible and go from there. But that's my opinion there. So basically how it works, of course, if you're new to this, we'll be breaking things down. We've got 4 regions, of course, East, South, West, and Midwest. All the number one seeds are basically placed into regions to where they'll end up in, if they end up in the Sweet 16, they'll be more closer to home to give them that home court advantage, so to say. Now, it's all neutral sites, of course, but a lot of fans will travel, especially if they move close and whatnot to see their teams. So the number one seeds and even the 2 seeds usually will have some advantage in those cases there. There's 68 teams. It used to be 30. It started off as 32 historically. Then it moved up to 64. Then it went to 65 with a play-in game for one of the 16 seeds. Now it's to 68 to give basically what they call first 4 in teams a chance to basically move in. So these are like bubble teams that are like just getting over the hump of getting in, and they will commonly get the 4 11 seeds, and then basically climb in. Whoever wins it gets the unanimous 11 seed of the play-in. Like this is an example right here, and right here as well. Then there's also a play-in for 16 seeds as well, and that's basically to round out the extra conferences that are now included in the overall field today. So that's pretty much how it plays out in a nutshell. Now, there are automatic bids that are conference champions, like basically, for example, Auburn won the SEC championship, and they got an automatic bid. Then there's going to be at-large bids, like Virginia, for example, although they fell short to Florida State in the semifinals, their record in the regular season and their ranking and net score, which we'll talk about briefly, was high enough to get them a number one seed. 3 ACC teams getting number one seeds, and then the 4th number one seed going to a West Coast Conference team in Gonzaga. West Coast Conference is a mid-major conference, but Gonzaga pretty much owns the West now since Arizona is pretty much down for now. So that's how that pretty much breaks down in a nutshell there. So with the NCAA tournament, it used to be ranked on what was called RPI. So basically, oh, bless you.
Sorry.
That's okay. But basically, RPI rankings is what it used to be based upon in the past there. And RPI would basically rate you on your win-loss record, home, away, neutral courts. Usually if you have a really high away record, that, win record, that helps. Your quality of opponents based through like top 25, top 50, top 100, top 300, etc. Because there's a little over 300 teams in the Division 1 of college basketball. So basically, obviously, the more top 25 victories you have, the higher RPI rating you would get. Now they kind of break it up with this net ranking, which basically divides things into like quadrants and everything, which quadrants are basically the same thing, like specific rankings and, victory, road wins. But the problem is that there's been a couple of tournament snubs, like TCU, for example, had a higher net score than some of the bubble teams that got in, the 11 seed bubble teams that got in, but they got shafted and are in the NIT, which is the not in tournament, but the real name is the National Invitational Tournament. Nothing wrong with it, though. I mean, basically, it still shows that you had a fairly successful season, and, winning the NIT isn't shameful or bad or anything of that nature. Sometimes it even saves coaches' jobs, ironically enough, or at least delays the inevitable. I'm looking at you, Stanford. But anyway, like a lot of people, for example, wanted Indiana to get into it, even though their record was 17-15. But they had a really, really good high-quality victories over opponents. And I mean, Archie Miller, Sean Miller's brother, coaches Indiana, so it's like, oh, well, honestly, I felt that UNC Greensboro should have gotten in. They had some really good quality victories against some bigger teams, and they really played their conference tough. I mean, some of these mid-major teams, like in the SoCon, for example, that Wofford's out of, I'll be honest with you, I mean, they really can surprise you. They really play hard in and out in the conference, and some of these little conferences can produce some pretty surprising teams. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell on how RPI and net works. I'm not going to go into like the diehard breakdown of it. There's plenty of videos out there for that. Now, here's how basically, if you're going to be making picks, we're not doing this for gambling purposes. We're doing this for fun because we're diehard sports advocates. So basically, how you want to make a pick, don't be ashamed of picks that you make. I mean, my girlfriend picked Norfolk State over Missouri and Lehigh over Duke several years ago, and I kind of laughed at her, and then they ended both up winning. So it's really rare to see 15 seeds beat 2 seeds, but it happened that year. I even had a friend of mine from Canada. She picked Ohio over Georgetown one year because she knew somebody in Ohio that was a member of a band she liked. They ended up beating Georgetown. So a lot of times you'd be surprised. My old roommates, even, for example, Zombie and Zombie and my other roommate, I don't have a nickname for him yet, they made some pretty cool picks, like Florida Gulf Coast. When they made their Sweet 16 run, they made some picks over to get into the Sweet 16, and they made it there. So there's some surprises that can happen. I mean, this is why I love college basketball more than the NBA. I mean, anything goes pretty much. So how it kind of breaks down with odds and everything goes like this. Commonly, your number one seeds have the highest percentage chance of getting into the national championship. So they have about a 50% chance, and usually about 34 of the 68 in the past couple of years have made it in. A lot of times, like number 2 seeds and number 3 seeds and 4 seeds, here's where it drops off. 2 and 3 seeds are 17 and 14%, and then 4 and 5 seeds are like 4%, 6, 2, 7, 1.5, 8, 4.4. A lot of times 8 seeds, like 8 or 9 seeds, are basically teams that had average seasons, but they're still considered tough and dangerous. I picked Kentucky to beat Wichita State, for example, when Kentucky was an 8 seed and Wichita State was a 1 seed, because I felt Wichita State was overrated and Kentucky was peaking at the right time, and Kentucky ended up winning. My dad laughed at my pick there, and I'm like, we'll see. And lo and behold, Kentucky ended up going into the national championship that year as an 8 seed against a 7 seed UConn, and UConn ended up winning. So anything can happen. It's rare. I mean, Loyola Chicago last year was a 11 seed, and they made it into the Final Four and lost to Michigan. So there is that there. And my buddy Skyler on Facebook was dancing a jig, sadly, until Villanova beat them fairly convincingly, sadly. But that is what it is. My Arizona Wildcats won it in '97 as a 4 seed. They beat the predicted champs, the Kansas Jayhawks, that year, who were 1 seed and had a very, very talented roster, and ended up beating Kansas and got into the Elite Eight against a Providence team that was a 10 seed that was in the Elite Eight. So sometimes when you see double-digit seeds getting into the Sweet 16, that's common, somewhat common. Seeing them get in the Elite Eight or Final Four is rare, but it can happen. Kent State's another example. You also have Virginia Commonwealth and George Mason made Final Four runs when they were 11 seeds. So it's just
that
it's phenomenal.
16 seed from last year.
We were going to get to that. Well, they didn't go too far, but
no, but they
last
did
year,
really well.
Yeah, well. Last year, history was in the making.
Yeah.
Before 2018, no 16 seed had ever beaten a 1 seed until last year. Yeah. Virginia got upset by UMBC, which is Maryland-Baltimore County. They beat out Tony Bennett's pack line defense with just brilliant cuts to the basket. When you have 2 people on either end of the paint who are basically staying neutral, you open yourself up to a good drive, and UNBC took major advantage of that. So we were astonished. We were just happy. I picked Virginia to be the champions, but at that point I didn't care. I was like, oh wow, they won. Yeah. That 16 seed finally won. So that's the only 16 seed that's beaten a 1 seed. This year I don't think it's going to happen, but if you're feeling, adventurous, go for it. 2 seeds beating or 15 seeds beating a 2 seed. Basically, there's been 8 teams in history that have done it. So it's a rare time. Like, sadly, the most recent one was Middle Tennessee State upsetting Michigan State, who were my national champions that year. So sometimes I've had some rather bad luck with that and have killed my brackets the past couple of years there. But yeah, it rarely happens. 14, basically 14s beating 3s and 15s beating 2s are rare, but sometimes it can happen. I'll go over who I think you would probably want to pick in those cases just for shits and giggles there. Now, 5-12s are the notorious upsets because 12 seeds are usually those high-rising, lower conference winners or conference championship winners who didn't have a really high enough record, like Oregon, for example, that have a lot of talent and can give 5-seeded teams who are basically people who either won a conference like Auburn or had above average seasons to where they can give them a run for their money. So now in the past couple years, only 3 12 seeds have beaten 5 seeds. So just keep that in mind that it used to happen once every year, but it's kind of been a little more balanced, so to say, at this point. 13 seeds beating 4 seeds is fairly possible too. Unfortunately, my Cats, who were a 4 seed, which I felt they were poorly seeded, lost to Buffalo, who was a 13 seed last year, who had a phenomenal season.
Very sad.
This year. But they basically showed how faster guard play can wear down bigs, unfortunately. I don't know what But, it's ancient history there. I won't go into that because I could probably devote my entire time on this video to that disgrace, but I won't. And then basically 11-6s have been catching up with 5-12, so it's possible for 11s to upset 6s because those are usually like other above average or conference championship winners from lower or at-large teams that are peaking at the right time. And then 7-10s are fairly even. It just kind of depends on who's the better team at that point. Same thing with 8-9s. 8-9s are really even too. Those are usually the teams that are, tough but kind of fell short at places. And it's pretty much a coin toss, and ironically enough, it's 50-50 in the past several years, so that's basically how it goes. So commonly, if you're trying to beat statistics, or if you're a gambler, you commonly want to pick 1 or 2 seeds to make it into the Final Four. Those are usually going to be your top dogs there. There are a few times where some 3 seeds can make it, and rare times where 4 seeds have a chance of making it too. Top 4s are usually going to be good to elite programs, so that's usually where you're kind of looking in those cases. So that's pretty much just the statistical breakdown there for you. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to break down the teams, and we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to make my picks first, then we're going to make Pikachu's picks after that.
Yep.
So here's where we're going to start. We're going to start in the East, and I'm picking Duke, of course, to win that out there against the winner of the NC Central North Dakota State game. Duke, Zion Williamson's just phenomenal. And they've got a great team. And I hate Duke with a passion, but I'm not going to deny their talent, basically. I even was considering, like in the beginning of the year, seeing everybody play, I was like, yeah, this team probably has the biggest chance to win it all even. So that's, where I break that down. Now, Virginia Commonwealth and Central Florida, it's kind of a coin toss at this point. I really like both teams. They came out with a lot of candor and whatnot into the season. VCU and got upset in the Atlantic 10 the Atlantic 10 tournament, who was won by St. Louis, ironically enough. So it's a coin toss. I'm going to pick Central Florida because I just like and I'm going to play stupid in this. I like their mascot, the Golden Knights, so, I'm just going to pick them for the heck of it. If Shaka Smart was still coaching VCU, he coaches Texas now, I would pick VCU, but yeah. So I'm going to pick UCF against Duke there. So we go down to Mississippi State and Liberty. This is a very popular upset pick here. This is basically an opportunity. Liberty's got an amazingly fast team, and Mississippi State's been kind of hot and cold on their offense. So Mississippi State will win if their offense produces the numbers. Otherwise, if they struggle, Liberty is going to hang around and win this game. I want to pick Liberty in this. And what the hell? I might as well. I like upsets. I don't really. I go I'm kind of moderate when I go wild with them. This year I'm going to be fairly going wild with them around the 4-13, 5-12, but I think Liberty's got a pretty good team, so I'm pretty much going to go with them. They can shoot the 3 really well, so if you're looking for a 5-12 upset, this is a good one here. Now, Virginia Tech and St. Louis, so I'm just going to be honest, St. Louis was really lucky in the tournament, in the Atlantic 10 tournament, and they were lucky to win that. Virginia Tech, although they, clearly fell pretty bad to they had a tough game against Florida State, they still played against one of the best defensive teams in the country. I feel it's a no-brainer that Virginia Tech's going to move on at that point, so I'm going with them. Now, Belmont Temple, I'm going for Belmont in that one over Temple, so they would basically end up playing Maryland in the first round there. Maryland is one of the best. Is like the fourth youngest team in the country, and they're very talented. I'll just say Belmont would be a decent pick over Maryland because Belmont's a fast team. I'm going with Maryland because I don't want to get too upset happy personally, so I'm going to go with Maryland. But Belmont's going to give them a fight. So basically, just keep in mind this is probably going to come down to the wire. Now, LSU and Yale, the 314, is a very popular upset pick that I'm seeing due to the fact that Yale had a very successful season in the Ivy League, and they have a lot of shooters and have fairly good talent. LSU was the number one seed in the SEC, and they fell short basically to Florida. But LSU still has a very talented team. Now, if you're feeling adventurous, go ahead and pick Yale. I mean, it's a legit 14/3 pick. But personally, I'm going to pick LSU because they have a lot of great talent on that team. They're very tough. Louisville, Minnesota. We basically have the 7-10. Louisville, how should I put this? Louisville basically was Rick Pitino's team, and his son Richard Pitino coaches Minnesota. Louisville now is coached by Chris Mack, who first season didn't do too bad. Chris Mack comes from Xavier, and he worked miracles with that team, obviously. And I know all too well 2 years ago to Arizona falling short to Xavier in the Sweet 16. Yeah. Very upsetting there. We had Lowry Markkanen. I mean, I thought Arizona was going to go to the Final Four that year. They had a rough start, but they picked it up later on and everything. But that's neither here nor there. No. This is kind of a flip of a coin as well. Now, I really don't know who to go for in this. I mean, Louisville has a lot of grit. I've seen them play. Like I saw them trounce Notre Dame, unfortunately, in the ACC tournament. Minnesota has some decent talent too. I guess I'll probably go for Louisville. Show some more ACC love. Why not? Even though I'm a Pac-12 alma mater, but whatever. Now, Michigan State Bradley. Michigan State's going to beat the ever-loving crap out of them. I mean, Bradley is another one of those teams. They won the Missouri Valley Conference that Wichita State used to be a part of, but they're lucky to be there. So I think Michigan State's going to beat the ever-loving crap out of Bradley. So I'm going to this other page here because I'm just going to get Pikachu's page popped up there. So. All right, so that's basically what we're looking at there. How do you want to do this? Do you want to finish out the region, or do you just want to make the single picks, or?
Wait. What? So you do each section and then I'll do each section, or?
Oh, okay. Well, we can do. So, do you want to?
So we did the East just now. If you're done with yours, we could do mine.
Yeah, we did. Well, we did the first round of the East, but I tell you what. Let's finish. I tell you, we'll do it this way. Let me finish the East round, and then we'll do your East.
Yeah,
round.
let's do that.
All right, that sounds fair enough. Okay, so we go to the next round, and we have Duke playing Central Florida. I mean, no contest there. Duke's gonna win. I don't think Central Florida even stands a chance, honestly. But again, stranger things happen. But statistically, Duke is the dominant team. Liberty, Virginia Tech is an interesting matchup. If Virginia Tech stays gritty on their defense and prevents a lot of three-point shooting from Liberty, they're going to win. Liberty has a chance to win this game too, but I'm going to go for Virginia Tech. And yeah, I know it creates an ACC Sweet 16 there, but I'm going to go by my gut statistics on that. Maryland to LSU, I think LSU has a bit more talent than Maryland does. Maryland's young. They'll be happy to take a victory, but I think LSU is going to make a Sweet 16 run this year. Louisville, Michigan State, it's going to be a tight one. Michigan State, I feel, is going to pull it off in the end, though. Louisville will give Michigan State a tight fight, but Michigan State will prevail in that. Now, Duke, Virginia Tech. Now, Virginia Tech did beat Duke in the regular season, but they didn't have Zion Williamson. Now Duke's at full strength. Duke gets the victory, in my opinion, there. LSU, Michigan State, this is going to be another tight game for Michigan State. I still think Michigan State's going to win it, but LSU is going to give them one hell of a fight. You could even pick LSU to beat Michigan State. It's possible, but I feel statistically and talent-wise, Michigan State has what it takes there. So that's my first Elite Eight is Duke, Michigan State. Michigan State, if they're on their A game, can beat Duke. But I feel Duke at this time is just far too dominant, riding on their ACC championship. I think Duke's going to win and get into a Final Four. So that's my East region pretty much broken up in a nutshell there. So we're now going to move on to Pikachu, and we'll see what she wants to do here. So the Duke NC Central North Dakota State winner.
Are you kidding?
I like that. Virginia Commonwealth, Central Florida.
I guess Central Florida.
Oh, okay. Following the...
Some of them are going to be the same as yours, and some of them are not.
Right, no, that's
so
okay. Nothing wrong with that. Mississippi State Liberty.
I'm going to do Liberty on that one.
Okay, we were talking about that when we were walking yesterday. So, Virginia Tech St. Louis.
Virginia Tech.
Okay. Who would you think would win between Belmont and Temple?
Belmont.
Okay. And the Maryland-Belmont game?
I'm going to choose Belmont again.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's possible. It's a good pick there. LSU-Yale?
We'll try Yale.
All right, so Pikachu's going to go for the 14-3 popular upset. All right. Some people even picked Yale in their Sweet 16, ironically enough, so that's going to be interesting there.
Yeah.
All right, Louisville, Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right, so Patino beats his dad's old team. And then Michigan State, Bradley?
Michigan State.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, now for another laugh. Duke, Central Florida.
Duke.
Liberty, Virginia Tech.
I'm going to do Liberty again.
Ooh,
Let's see how far they can go.
Yeah, why not? I mean, Pikachu really loves to pick upsets, so, you'll be seeing that
and they have
a
cool mascot anyway.
Pikachu, the Flames.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Now, Pikachu did actually win our tournament last year. She actually picked Villanova to win it all.
That was interesting.
So she ended up winning it all for the first time that she's been doing this. I've won it 3 times since we've been doing it. I remember beforehand all the girls in our group were actually have been winning, and it drove me nuts, but then I suddenly won like 3 years in a row. One of those years, it was the one year where Duke lost to... they were a 3 seed and it was a 14 seed Mercer. I picked basically, that was the only loss I had in the first round, ironically enough. So that was like my moment in the sun there, but I won that bracket, so I was really happy about that. So then we go Belmont Yale.
Oh man, I'm going to choose Yale.
All right, so Pikachu's going for a Sweet 16 Yale as well. Minnesota, Michigan State, a Big 12 Big 10 matchup. Okay, so there we go. All right, so Duke or Liberty?
Oh, no. Well, I'm going to have to say Duke. As much as I liked Liberty, we're going to have to go with Duke. I don't know if anyone can actually beat them.
There you go. Yale or Michigan State?
Oh, dear. Let's try Yale again.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Pikachu's got Yale in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, why not?
That's 14 seed has never been in the Elite Eight, so let's see if it happens this year.
Yeah.
Now, Duke or Yale?
Duke.
Yeah. It made me want to vomit too, so.
As much as I don't like them either.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotta be realistic. Okay, so that's your East bracket from the both of us there. Could you do me a favor and grab me a Red Bull, please?
No. No!
Yeah, sorry to be so unorthodox, but I need a little caffeine in my system right now. And that little click was Pikachu turning off her microphone, so.
Yeah, so it doesn't make that horrible noise.
So we're going to take a little break here. All right. Thank you very much. Crack it open. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. All right, so next we're going to go to the West, and Gonzaga, of course, is the reigning there. I don't think Fairleigh Dickinson or Prairie View can beat them, so we move Gonzaga up front. Syracuse and Baylor. Baylor's got a good team. I watched them play against Arizona, and Baylor's kind of lucky to be here, to be honest. Syracuse, I think, is going to win it because they're going to be at full strength with Tyus Battle. They usually play well come conference time. They squeeze out at least one victory a year. Boeheim's obviously beyond his prime, unfortunately, but he's still a decent coach. But, yeah, I'm definitely going to go for Syracuse there. Now, Marquette and Murray State is another interesting 5-12 matchup. Well, they're all interesting this year, but Marquette and Murray State both have some of the best offensive scorers in the country. That's the irony of this season here. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game, too, between both teams. I'm going to go for another, this is going to be my other 5-seed upset. I'm going to go with Murray State. I really think that they are riding high. They did win their conference, the Ohio Valley. I think they're going to upset Marquette. Now, Florida State and Vermont, 4-13. Florida State's got a better defense. They're really good this year. Vermont could give them a little trouble, but I think Florida State's going to pull it off there. Now for some darlings. Buffalo at 6 against either the Arizona State St. John's winner. Now, as much as I hate the Scum Devils, I'm going to pick Arizona State over St. John's because I'm mad at St. John's having Justin Simon, who is a point guard transfer from Arizona, and basically Simon's prospering with St. John's now. And he's a great lockdown defender. Now, Buffalo ASU, I got to go with Buffalo. I mean, they're quick, they're great shooters, and they're on a record-setting season for them. 31 wins, first time in their school history, and this is their second appearance in the NCAA tournament. Last year was their first, and they beat Arizona. Yay!
I know.
So go ahead and beat ASU. Get vengeance.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Now, Texas Tech, Northern Kentucky, 3-14. Texas Tech is going to win. I don't think Northern Kentucky stands a chance, really. Texas Tech's a really good team, and they sadly, even though they fell short against West Virginia in the Big 12, Texas Tech can do a lot of damage. They're a definite dark horse team in this tournament. Some people are even picking them for their Final Four.
I'm going to be right back real quick.
Okay. So we'll just hang out. Huh?
Keep going, because I don't need to talk really right now.
Oh, no, I know, but I'd rather you want to listen. Oh, you're going to the kitchen. Okay. All right. So Pikachu's going into the kitchen. Okay. So we got Nevada at the 7, Florida at the 10. This is a really tough decision because I really love Nevada this year. They're a 7 seed because they've had 3 losses and they haven't had any really major victories or anything of that nature, but they, hung around in the top 15 for a majority of the season. Florida came up with that amazing LSU victory there, and they needed that basically to get into the NCAA. I'm going to go with Florida in this one. I'm going to do an upset. I'm going to go with Florida over Nevada in this one. I was looking at picking Nevada as a dark horse, but honestly, when they go up against stiffer competition, they're not as talented. They're a pretty overrated team this year, so I'm going to go with Florida in that one. Michigan, Montana meeting again for the second year. This year, though, Michigan's a 2 seed, and basically Montana's a 15 rather than a 3-14 like last year. Montana struggled against Eastern Washington in the Big Sky Championship, but they made a great comeback and took it. But Michigan here, too much talent. They're definitely gonna trounce Montana there. So we go into the second round. Gonzaga-Syracuse. Syracuse is going to give Gonzaga a really heavy fight, but Gonzaga's got way too much size and talent. I'm picking Gonzaga to go into the Sweet 16. Murray State playing Florida State. Murray State's going to give Florida State a very hard time, but I think Florida State's defense at the end prevails. They get to the Sweet 16. Buffalo, Texas Tech. Now, this is a very, very difficult decision here. Buffalo has the capacity to beat Texas Tech. If Texas Tech is playing on all cylinders, I think that Texas Tech will beat Buffalo. However, Buffalo's still a very fine pick in this game, so don't be afraid to pick Buffalo to beat Texas Tech in this. I'm going for Texas Tech, though, because I still have faith in Chris Beard, but it's going to probably be like a 1 or 2 point victory in that one. Florida and Michigan. Michigan's going to win this, but it's going to be closer than people think. Florida is going to fall short to Michigan's speed, but it's going to be a fight, that's for sure. But I think Michigan is definitely going to prevail in that one. Gonzaga, Florida State. Florida State could win this if they played the best defense of their life in this game. I think Gonzaga has the edge because they're an all-about rounded team, and I really think Gonzaga's going to pull through. It's going to be a close one, but I think Gonzaga wins it and gets to another Elite Eight. Texas Tech, Michigan, and I had to kind of do this at the last second. This is a really difficult choice here. Michigan kind of runs out of gas near the end. Texas Tech can get surprised. And I originally was going to go with Michigan in this, sorry, Skylar, if you're watching, but I got to go with Texas Tech. I just love Chris Beard way too much, and I think he's going to really push this team further. I think that West Virginia game is going to be a stepping stone for them, and I think they're really going to make it in. Now, Gonzaga, Texas Tech. Texas Tech has the capability to beat Gonzaga, but I think Gonzaga's just going to wear Texas Tech out in the end with their talent, and Gonzaga, that's my next Final Four team there. So that's it for my West region. And next we're going to go with Pikachu.
Hello.
So Gonzaga or Fairleigh Dickinson Prairie View?
Gonzaga.
Now, another thing to mention is Gonzaga did beat Duke at full strength, so that's going to be a rematch in my Final Four from the Maui Invitational Championship. Syracuse or Baylor?
Syracuse.
Okay. Marquette or Murray State?
It's a good question. Is Murray State better than they were last year? Because they were saying, oh, they're going to do really good, and they didn't get that far last year. So are they better this year?
Murray State did win the Ohio Valley Conference,
that's right.
And they've got a really good big man scorer. So I mean, it's safe to pick them. This game could go either way, honestly.
Let's try Murray State for this one. We'll see after that.
Pikachu's going for another 12-5 upset. Florida State or Vermont?
Florida.
Okay. Who do you think? Do you think it would be the St. John's Red Storm or the Scum Devils?
I don't want to do this, but yeah, we're gonna go for ASU.
And how about the Buffalo ASU game?
Oh, Buffalo, get rid of them.
Texas Tech, Northern Kentucky.
Texas Tech.
Okay. Nevada or Florida?
Florida.
Oh, okay. So I guess my little speech about Nevada being overrated kind of played through. Nevada can win, but I really think Nevada's just highly overrated. And then Michigan or Montana.
Michigan.
Okay. Gonzaga or Syracuse.
Gonzaga.
Okay. Murray State or Florida State.
Florida.
Okay. Buffalo or Texas Tech.
I want to see Buffalo do a little bit more this year, so we'll do that.
Yeah, and it's a safe pick. It really is. Buffalo can definitely beat Texas Tech, and to be honest, I think it's probably going to happen, but yeah. Florida or Michigan?
Michigan.
All right. Gonzaga or Florida State?
Gonzaga.
All right. Buffalo or Michigan?
I'm going to choose Buffalo again.
Ooh, okay. Now, there are some people that have Buffalo in the Elite Eight against Gonzaga, and there's one crazy person I watched that has Buffalo in the Final Four.
Wow.
So Gonzaga or Buffalo?
Gonzaga.
Okay. So we both have a Duke-Gonzaga Final Four rematch, so there you go.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to move on to the South bracket. And this is basically where Virginia is reigning supreme. Now, Gardner-Webb, this is their first appearance in the NCAA tournament, and nothing against Virginia or Gardner-Webb, but if you're wanting to be crazy and do a 16-over-1, Gardner-Webb, I think, has the highest realistic chance to pull it off. Not because Virginia lost last year, but because I think that they're the best out of the 16 seeds, personally. So if you're feeling crazy or anything, that's a 16-over-1 seed that, you wouldn't really have regrets over. But, of course, I'm picking Virginia. I think Virginia is going to get farther this year than people expect. Mississippi and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's fallen short a lot this year. I'm going to go with Ole Miss, but it's a flick of a coin there, honestly. But Ole Miss it has a new head coach, Kermit Davis, and they've been, really pulling off a lot of really, really, decent wins, and not bad for a first-year coach getting into the tournament, especially at 8 seed. There's no shame in that there, so I'm going to go with Ole Miss on that one. Now, Wisconsin-Oregon's an extremely popular 12-over-5, and I am picking Oregon. I know I'm picking another 12-over-5. Oregon won the Pac-12 tournament over Arizona State and Washington, and they just came out of nowhere and jumped in by their miracle there with that automatic bid. Wisconsin's a good team, and Wisconsin could win this game, but I think Oregon's got the speed to win that one and pull through. Kansas State, UC Irvine. This is a 4-13. UC Irvine is a very, very good team as of late. Last year was their very first tournament invite, and this year is their second. UC Irvine this is their first 30-win season in school history too. They have a really, really good team. Kansas State's got a good team too. It could go either way, but honestly, I'm picking UC Irvine in this one. I'm going to be adventurous, and I'm picking them for that. Villanova and St. Mary's, both auto bid teams. Villanova won the Big East, and St. Mary's won the WCC, upsetting Gonzaga. St. Mary's could beat Villanova. Villanova was the national champions of last year, but this year they kind of had a above-average season. I'm still going to go with Nova in this one. I really think that Jay Wright, of course, always preps for tournament time, so definitely going to go for them. St. Mary's could still possibly win it, though. Purdue and Old Dominion. I don't really know too much about Old Dominion. I do know they won their conference, but Purdue pulling off a 3 seed was a shocker for considering their up and down season. I'm going to go with Purdue in this one. I think Purdue will pretty much pull it off against Old Dominion in that one there. Cincinnati and Iowa. I think Cincinnati is going to win that. Iowa is a little is kind of lucky to be there, to be honest. Cincinnati won the American Athletic Conference there, and I just feel that Cincinnati wasn't seeded high enough, personally. I think they should have been like a 5 seed at best. I feel that they were really gypped on that seeding there. But, I'm definitely going to pick Cincinnati. Hold on. Pardon me. And then Tennessee, Colgate, I'll pick Tennessee. I mean, I love Admiral Schofield, and Rick Barnes has really got Tennessee flying high. He shows that he's still got the game, even though, like, in his waning Texas years, he was falling south. Rick Barnes can still take a team, and they trust the process, and look where you're getting there. So I'm definitely going to take Tennessee. Virginia, Ole Miss, Virginia for sure. Oregon, UC Irvine is going to be a really fun West Coast game to watch. I think UC Irvine is going to pull it off and get into the Sweet 16. I really love this team a lot. I watched them play against Cal State Fullerton and in the championship there, and they're a positive team. A lot of great energy among the guys there and everything. I really think they're going to pull off a Sweet 16 this season. Villanova, Purdue is kind of a coin toss. I'm going to go with Purdue, but it's going to be a very close game, and it could go either way on that, but I'm going to go with Purdue, the higher seed. Cincinnati, Tennessee. Tennessee did lose by 20 to Auburn in the SEC championship, but Auburn is a very hot three-point shooting team, and they have a great defense. Tennessee, I really think, Cincinnati can beat Tennessee. I think it's possible. I'm going to go with Tennessee because I think Rick Barnes is going to have them prep for the tournament. I think they're really going to pull off big surprise. Virginia, UC Irvine. UC Irvine's Cinderella pretty much falls short. I think Virginia's going to make it in. Unless UC Irvine finds a way to break that defense, I think Virginia wins that one. Purdue and Tennessee is going to be a close game, but I think that Tennessee has more talent, and I think Tennessee is going to pull off the win in that. Virginia, Tennessee. This could go either way, but I'm pulling for Tennessee to win it because I really love Admiral Schofield. I love that Tennessee team. They are pulling off a great, they're having a great season. So they did fall short and they got embarrassed, but again, I think Rick Barnes is going to have them for a Final Four run this year. So that's what I'm looking at there. So that's my South region for you there. All right, Pikachu. Virginia or Gardner-Webb?
I'm going to go for this new team.
So Pikachu's going to pick a 16 over Virginia's not going to get anywhere.
It happened last year, so why not?
Why not? Ole Miss, Oklahoma.
Ole Miss.
Okay. Wisconsin or Oregon?
Oregon.
Okay. Kansas State or UC Irvine?
Irvine.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Villanova or St. Mary's?
Let's go with St. Mary's.
Okay, there you go. Purdue or Old Dominion?
Purdue.
Okay. I think my buddy Skyler had St. Mary's in his Final Four, ironically enough.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was kind of surprised at that, too. I think he's picking it because of these 11-seed miracles that have been happening here and there. So, not bad of a pick, really. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati or Iowa?
Cincinnati.
Okay. Tennessee or Colgate?
Tennessee.
All right. And then Gardner-Webb or Ole Miss?
Probably Ole Miss after that.
So Ole Miss, by the miracle of things, gets into the Sweet 16. Yeah. Oregon or UC Irvine?
Good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
My gut is telling me Oregon, so let's go with it.
St. Mary's or Purdue?
Purdue.
Okay. Cincinnati or Tennessee?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Okay. Ole Miss or Oregon?
Old Miss.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Purdue or Tennessee?
Tennessee.
Okay. And then here's an SEC rematch. Ole Miss or Tennessee?
Tennessee.
Okay. So, shockingly, we have eerily similar Final Fours so far. So, last but certainly not least, we're going to the toughest bracket, which is the Midwest bracket.
Oh.
Now, North Carolina reigns supreme here. They played a great game against Duke and fell short in the semifinals, but it was quite a game. It was going back and forth. North Carolina, don't fall asleep on this team. They've got a lot of talent, and they could be a Final Four team as well. It's very possible for that to happen there. So basically, they're playing the Iona, and I think North Carolina is just going to beat the stuffing out of them. Now, Utah State, Washington is a very intriguing 8-9 matchup. This is the one I'm actually really excited for. Utah State has they're the champions of the Mountain West. They have a really good team that's fast. Washington, under Mike Hopkins, gets into the tournament. They've got a good team too. I mean, they won the Pac-12 regular season before they got upset by Oregon there, but in the tournament. But I think Washington is going to pull this off. I really, Utah State, nothing against them. I mean, this game could go either way, as usually all 8-9 seeds go. But I think Washington has enough talent to make it and get into the second round there. Now, Auburn, New Mexico State's. It's another great 5-12 matchup. New Mexico State is becoming a very popular pick over Auburn because they're saying Auburn's just riding high off the SEC championship. Now, New Mexico State can beat Auburn because New Mexico State has one of the most consistent offenses in the country. Auburn, though, has a really good defense and a hot three-point shooting team. I'm going to go for Auburn in this, so I'm going for my first 5 over 12 in this tournament here. But I really think Auburn is going to is going to pull it off there. Now, Kansas Northeastern. Kansas has not really had that stellar of a season. They started off hot. They were number 1 for a while. Vermont took them to the wire for a little bit over in Allen Fieldhouse and whatnot. But Kansas has kind of had a bit of a down season, much like Villanova. Northeastern has the capacity to beat Kansas, but in the end, I think Kansas will pull off the win there. Iowa State, Ohio State. To be fair, Ohio State's very lucky to be even in this tournament. Iowa State won the Big 12. Every time Iowa State's been in the Big 12 championship, they've always won. So they're 5-0 when they're in the championship. I'm proud that Arizona beat them in the first round of the Maui Invitational. I think Iowa State's going to win this one. Sorry, Star Killer 69, buddy of mine that is from Ohio that loves Ohio State, but it's not going to happen. Now, Houston, Georgia State. Houston is another dark horse. They have Final Four caliber. Cincinnati sadly beat them and all in the AAC championship. Houston has a lot of talent and size, and they've got a Final Four caliber team. So I'm going to pick Houston over Georgia State in this one because I think Houston's going to learn their lesson and just kind of move forward from it. Now for another possible Cinderella darling, Wofford and Seton Hall. Now, Wofford, I watched them, and they are a very dangerous team. They've got great shooters. There's this Nathan, what's his name, like Nathan Luther or something like that. There's this Nathan kid on the team, amazing or Nathan Hoover, there we go, amazing three-point shooter. They stayed ranked fairly well throughout the season. They were a surprise team this year and had an amazing game in the championship of the SoCon. I really if you're looking for a Cinderella team in this bracket or in this tournament, Wofford is a definite Cinderella team. I think they're probably one of the best mid-major conference teams in here. Seton Hall, though, Seton Hall's beaten Villanova a few times. Seton Hall's got a very good team, so this isn't going to be easy, but I think Wofford will beat Seton Hall. And then Kentucky, Abilene Christian. This is Abilene Christian's first year in the tournament as well. If you wanted to do a 15/2, I would probably pick them because I think they're the best 15 seed out of all of them. But Kentucky, I think, is going to take it. Now, North Carolina and Washington, this is going to be a very tough, this is a possible 8 or 9 seed over a 1 seed. This is a possibility. This is Washington, I feel, is the only team that has, well, Syracuse is probably second, but Washington, I feel, has an opportunity to upset North Carolina, but I think North Carolina is just going to wear them down in the end, and North Carolina moves on to the Sweet 16 there. Auburn, Kansas. Kansas is going to give Auburn a fight. Auburn's going to probably struggle. Like if Kansas kind of comes out of nowhere and starts playing their A game, very possible for Kansas to win this. I'm going for Auburn because I love the momentum they're riding on, and I love their defense, and I love their shooting, so I'm going with Auburn. Iowa State, Houston, this is another popular upset pick. Iowa State could beat Houston. If Houston is on their game and is shooting well, Houston's going to win. If Iowa State plays their game well all around, Iowa State's going to win. But I'm going to go for Houston in this one. I know I'm not going for the popular 3-6 upsets like Texas Tech losing to Buffalo and whatnot. I just feel that these teams are going to come out on top. But don't be afraid to pick Iowa State over Houston in that, because that's still very possible. And Iowa State usually overachieves, especially at the end of the year, especially come tournament time. They're notorious for that. So don't be afraid to pick Iowa State over Houston in that. Wofford, Kentucky, this is a very difficult choice here. I was originally picking Kentucky to be in my Final Four, but I kind of reevaluated some things, and I kind of want to ride. I kind of want to ride the Cinderella wave with them. I'm picking Wofford over Kentucky. I originally wasn't going to do that, but I really love this Wofford team. It's not going to be easy, but I really love them, and I want to see them pull off that upset over Kentucky. North Carolina, Auburn, it's going to be a tough one, but North Carolina in the end I think is going to basically pull it off at that point there. Houston and Wofford, this is going to be another one of those games. I mean, Wofford could beat Houston. If Wofford outshoots Houston, then basically Wofford's going to win this. I'm writing on Houston right now for that, so I'm going to basically go with them in that, but Wofford could still win that game. Houston and North Carolina is a very intriguing matchup due to the fact that it's size versus size, and my gut wants me to go with the Tar Heels. I mean, I really want to go with Houston because I love Houston this year. They're a very good team, but I think because Roy Williams is just a badass, obviously, I'm going with North Carolina. So 3 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. It rarely happens, to be honest with you. Usually a lot of times you are mostly going to see some 2 seeds and then maybe some lower ones. I mean, obviously we've seen a couple of 11 seeds and things like that, but I just, based on the talent level and everything, I'm going with that. So that's pretty much it for that. Now we're going to complete Pikachu's Midwest.
Yep.
North Carolina or Iona?
North Carolina.
All right. Fun fact, Lamont Momo Jones, who was a point guard for Arizona when Miller was around for the first 2 seasons, transferred to Iona to be around his grandma, and he took Iona to a tournament and did a really decent job with it too. So that's a little tidbit for you there. Mm-hmm. Utah State or Washington?
Washington.
Okay. Auburn or New Mexico State?
Auburn.
Okay. So we're similar on our 5-12 picks.
Yeah.
Kansas or Northeastern?
Northeastern.
Wow. Okay, that'd be an interesting little upset there.
Yeah.
Iowa State or Ohio State?
Iowa.
All right. Houston or Georgia State?
Houston.
Okay. Wofford or Seton Hall?
Wofford.
Okay. Kentucky or Abilene Christian?
Let's do this Abilene Christian thing.
So Pikachu's going for the two newcomers to beat two highly talented teams. I like it.
Why not?
I like it. All right. North Carolina or Washington?
Oh, North Carolina.
All right. Auburn or Northeastern?
Auburn.
All right. Houston or Iowa State?
Houston.
Okay. Wofford or Abilene Christian?
Wofford.
All right. North Carolina or Auburn?
Oh dear. I guess North Carolina.
Okay. Houston or Wofford?
Oh. I'm gonna go with Wofford.
Ooh, and it's possible. It's
Yeah.
possible. North Carolina or Wofford?
Oh. I'm gonna have to say North Carolina.
So here's the irony: this is the first time we both had the same Final Fours.
Wow.
So this is one of the best Final Fours I've actually seen Pikachu make. I've never seen her make such a high-seeded Final Four before, but there you go. All right, so we're going to do the Final Four and championship breakdown. Now, Duke and Gonzaga. Gonzaga has beaten a full-strength Duke before. I think Duke's going to get revenge and get into the championship. Tennessee and North Carolina. This is going to come down to who wants it more, and this is going to come down to basically, which star pulls it off. I'm going for Tennessee. I'm going to go for Tennessee to get into the national championship this year. It's a long shot, but I really think that if they get past that second round against Cincinnati, and I think, they just have Virginia as a hurdle, they're going to be writing enough confidence at that point to where they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to take it. And of course, because I'm going to whore out just like everybody else, I've got to pick Duke to win it. So there you go. That's my bracket with the Duke Blue Devils as the champions.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you've chosen Duke to win it all year. Puff, puff, puff. Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much my pick there. Now, Duke or Gonzaga?
Duke.
Okay. Tennessee or North Carolina?
North Carolina.
So we have a little difference there.
Yep.
That's a possibility, too. That's a very popular championship. It's a rematch where they play each other for the fourth time this season. Now, who would win it? Duke or North Carolina?
Duke. Unfortunately.
Yeah, so, basically we're kind of whoring ourselves out like everybody in this country practically is, so
that Zion guy is just so good. I don't know if anyone can deal with him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when they're playing full strength, Duke doesn't have much of a bench, to be honest, but when they're playing at full strength, yeah, it's pretty tough to not pick against them, so...
Yeah.
Ooh, excuse me. So there you go. There's our live picks and our analysis, our slight analysis. We're not super experts or anything like that, but hope you guys had fun with everything there. We sure as heck did. So it's time to go get a little exercise, and so kind of heads up for our gaming and everything. Secret of Mana is going to be a go for me. That's going to be the next game I'm personally going to play. Unfortunately, Ardith had to go to a funeral for this week because unfortunately his uncle passed away, so thoughts for him there. And we're going to bless you, and so we're going to have to hold off on gaming basically for this Wednesday. Originally we were going to have him over, but sadly, alas, we're not going to be able to do it. So what will happen is we'll go ahead and have we're going to have one of our friends over, and we'll see what happens. We're probably just going to end up doing movies, but we will be showing Pikachu, our favorite blind gamer, trying out Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. So that's going to be
I haven't played that in a long time.
And
I beat it last time, but it took a while.
It took a while, yeah. Like Captain N said, 50 times to get the Cuts Man, even though it's Cut Man, but there you go.
I hope it doesn't take that long. It's just, I grew up on GameCube, and we're using a different system, so it's different controls and everything.
And of course, I grew up on the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and there you go.
Yep.
All right, well, that's it for the March Madness Pick'em. Happy tournament time. The first 4 rounds, or the first 4 in rounds and play-in rounds start tomorrow, and Tuesday and Wednesday tomorrow and Wednesday are when they play. The madness, the true madness, begins Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. So it'll be TBS, CBS, True TV, and TNT. And the music that we played in the beginning is obviously copyrighted and owned by CBS. We're just using it for entertainment purposes. We're not claiming it as our own intellectual property, and we're just having fun with it. So I'm just going to get that out of the way there too. We just love the music so much.
Such
CBS,
a good song.
So we really appreciate you making that song, but we're not owning any rights to it, just to let you know. We're only using it for entertainment purpose. All right, so basically now that's out of the way, time to get a little exercise. This is Gray Fox 37
and Pikachu 23,
and we'll see you when we game, and goodbye.
Bye bye.